Hello everyone, this is Kat. This is my third try on this, and hopefully I can get it this time. And she's finally here. This is my daughter Stasia. She's 2.5 weeks, and this is my husband, who shall be named unknown for right now. She was 6 pounds, 2 ounces, and 19.5 inches long. She was small, but she's very strong and she's healthy. She came at 39 weeks and like 4 or 5 days. I got induced. Today I wanted to talk to you about my emergency C-section. I want to put a positive spin on this because while I was pregnant, I looked up a lot of videos, as I'm sure most pregnant women do. I was curious, what could happen? Oh my gosh, what could happen? And really what I did is I scared myself into a lot of things, and being afraid while you're pregnant is not good. So let's talk about my C-section. You're going to hear some scary stuff, but the scary stuff isn't so bad because I'm going to put the positive on it, okay? And if I have to pause it because she gets fussy, I apologize. But luckily, I'm recording this on my phone and I can pause it. So, anyways, in the beginning of the pregnancy, I made it clear with my OBGYN, who I made sure that I liked. I think it's a big, important thing to like the doctor or midwife or whatever you go to. It's very important. You need to establish a relationship with them. You're working with them, and delivering a baby with them. So I told him from the beginning, it's really important to me that I be able to exercise and stuff like that. I really don't want a C-section because I heard that means, they cut through your stomach muscle, which isn't necessarily true, but we'll get to that later. I told him that it's very important to me that I be able to exercise. I used to be an athlete, and I've exercised moderately on and off, for the last 12 years. So, I made sure that he knew that I didn't want to have a C-section right off the bat. And so I looked up videos on how to avoid them, and they say, stay active, eat healthy, exercise. Those things are important, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to have a C-section. So I was trying to do everything that I could to avoid the C-section. Let's skip forward. I did all those things. I took a great prenatal. Well, it was great for me. And with DHA and I believe it's EPA. I did all that. I walked all the time. I even did squats and weights in the beginning. But I'm at the hospital, and I had to go to get induced because my husband, I was a truck driver too, but that's how we met, and we're actually going to do a story on that. But anyways, he's a truck driver still, and he had to take time off in order to be here for the baby. Otherwise, he could get stuck somewhere and not be here when the baby came. So I had to be induced. I also live in the country in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like 45 minutes, 50 minutes from the hospital. So it was very important that my husband was here, so I ended up getting induced. And they tell you, oh, well, if you get induced, it's more likely you'll have a C-section. Well, that wasn't really the reason. So, if you hear that could be true. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but that wasn't my reason. So I'm at the hospital. I start getting induced the day July 16th. No, July 15th. I'm sorry. We had to get there at 7:30 in the morning. And they started doing stuff probably later in the morning because I was not even dilated. So they had to use, I'm not going to get real specific terms. So they had to try to dilate me. I believe it's Pitocin. I don't know. There's terms, but I'm going to skip that. So they had to try to dilate me in order to get, the contractions. I was already getting Braxton Hicks, and they gave me some medicine for dilating. I did not dilate, but I did get contractions. I started getting contractions, and over a period of time, the contractions got worse. Now, yes, contractions hurt very bad and are very scary, but the plus side is, as soon as you end up getting an epidural, And if you go to a good hospital, they will be able to, give you, do the epidural the best they can for you. Somebody getting fussy. Let me pause this real quick. Oh, no, we're good. Okay. So, if you go to a good hospital, which I recommend if you got one near you, or you have access to one, go to one. Because even though those contractions are going to hurt, that is another thing that you will hear about, or you will scare yourself, when you're pregnant. Once they give you the epidural, you don't feel it, you feel pressure. And the epidural can be quite uncomfortable. It will resolve your pain, but it can be uncomfortable when you get it. But the positive, because I said I'm going to put a positive spin on this, is if you breathe, listen to the nurses, relax, and know that as soon as that epidural hits and that part is over, you're not going to feel pain, then just be reassured. Don't be afraid of what's going to happen. Be reassured that it's going to feel much better, and the experience will get better after that for contractions. Pardon my voice. It's a little raspy. So then I ended up getting the epidural, and I still was not dilated. And the doctor's, coming in, and he's like, I don't know why you're not getting dilated. This is going to take a while. This is normal. It's just going to take a while because you're being induced. So they gave me some more of the medicine. The contractions were going up, but I was not dilating. Well, finally, the doctor goes in. They check to see if you dilate, which can be quite painful. But let's put a positive spin on it. Once you get that epidural, it's not painful anymore. So don't be afraid of that if you've already been checked to see if you're dilated, if you're further along. Once you get the epidural, it won't hurt as bad. It's not going to hurt, actually, at all. You'll feel pressure. Duh. Anyways, so then I'm trying to make this as to the point as I can. So basically, he went in there finally, and the doctor was trying to dilate me himself. He was trying to, make it
cervix.
Thanks, hon. Ripen the cervix. I don't know anything about this. I'm a first-time mom. I didn't even know I was going to be a mom, so my hon, he knows a lot more about it. So then he ripened my cervix, and all of a sudden I started dilating like crazy. Like within an hour, like 2 hours, I went from like 2 to 4, and then all of a sudden I was at 8, and then he checked on, and I'm like, I feel something funny here. And I felt my water break, and then I was at 10, and then the nurses were in there. They're like, okay, well, now you're going to have to push. So they were in there, and for a good 2 hours, I want to say, I was trying to push. Now, for ladies who give birth naturally, don't let this scare you either. This is for mainly if you're going to have a C-section, or, if you're afraid of having a C-section, whatever. The pushing sucked. I will tell you that. I didn't like it. It didn't hurt. It was hard to do. Obviously. But I was doing good until her heart rate started dropping. And I think it did it twice. And the doctor said, all right, I thought I was almost there. I thought I'm going to be able to push her out. No. So he was like, okay, we need to have an emergency C-section. And I got really scared. You start to shake because of the epidural, but I was more scared, and there really wasn't a reason to be scared, but I will get into that, okay? So then they take me out of the room, and my husband, because of this whole, I'm just going to call it the virus right now. If it's 2020, you should know what the virus is. That because of the emergency C-section, he wouldn't be able to go in there right away. They weren't sure, so he wasn't able to go in there. So I was freaking out. I'm like, I want my husband, So I'm getting wheeled down there. I'm shaking. I'm scared. Really, I didn't have as much of a reason to be scared as I thought. I get into the room. There's all these people and stuff like that. And I'm shaking. And I'm like, oh, the fear of the unknown is the worst, okay? But finally, I was able to tell them, please get my husband in here. And he was in there with me. And it wasn't so bad. I mean, I was so scared, but actually it was a lot easier because the doctor went in and I couldn't feel anything except pressure. I was afraid that I would feel it, but I didn't. And then all of a sudden, he said, you're going to feel pressure, and they start cutting me open and they got the veil over it, and my husband's there with me holding my hand, and everything was okay and I didn't feel anything. And then all of a sudden the greatest thing happened. For my emergency C-section, it was not so scary. I heard the baby cry. We heard the baby cry. My husband peeked behind the curtain. I'm like, what does she look like? What does she look like? Uh-oh. Thank you. And then we were really excited, and then it became like the greatest moment in our marriage so far, besides actually being married. So they bring the baby to us, and we see the baby, and then it took a half an hour to stitch me up, and that was okay too, because I felt comfortable. Everybody was laughing, joking in there. Everything went smooth. The doctor did a great job with my incision. He told me it went great. He was very happy with the incision. He said that he did not even have to cut through the muscle. I'm not sure how that works, but they don't always have to cut through the muscle, my doctor said. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but so that brings... He dissected around it, okay. But a lot of women are afraid of that, because I've seen and heard, because they're afraid they're not going to be able to work out the same, or it's going to make it harder healing, and I'm sure that does happen, but for me, it went well. Like I said, having a good doctor and a good hospital helps. So, fast forward to the future, another thing women are afraid of with these C-sections is that they're not going to be able to do much. Well, I was actually up and moving 6 hours after the C-section. The epidural was starting to wear off. The nurses were like, we're going to help you try to get up. We want to take the catheter out. I thought the catheter was going to be this painful thing. As long as you have the epidural before they put it in, you will not feel it at all. I freaked out for no reason. And when they took the epidural out, I still didn't feel anything, and I was perfectly fine, and it didn't hurt. Seriously, like the things we freak out about and we hear about and we think they're scary, and it's really not a big deal. So then I was up and walking. I had the catheter out. After 6 hours, I was going to the bathroom on my own. I was walking, not a lot. I tried to be careful. I was there a total of, I want to say, 3 days?
Yeah, 3.
3 days. And I really didn't feel... They give you plenty of pain medication. They tell you need... you don't want to feel... If you don't keep up with it, you'll feel the pain. Well, I never ended up feeling the pain. I ended up going home, and they gave me pain medication, and I really didn't have to use that much of it. I was up and moving around. I was still careful because I don't want to ruin my chances of healing sooner, so that I can work out and do stuff around the house, the yard, blah, blah, blah. But I have a 2.5 week appointment checkup tomorrow, and I will see how I'm healing and, what I am cleared to do next. But I can tell you that so far it feels like I've healed great, and the incision has healed pretty well, it looks like. The doctor will look at it tomorrow. Hold on, sweetie. The doctor will look at it tomorrow, but I don't feel pain. The incision is okay. My stomach is slowly going down. The frustrating part is, your stomach going down, but that's with both pregnancies, natural and C-section. So It really hasn't been bad. And to be honest, if I would have known that I would have had to go through all that pushing and then do a C-section, I would have just chose to do the C-section, because it wasn't worth having to push and be afraid like that, or do all that and then just end up having a easy C-section. And it wasn't really bad at all. There are bad C-sections, but I don't want people Googling that and just seeing all the bad. It's really not that bad. So if you're afraid of it and it happened, I'm telling you, if it happens, you'll be fine. Just make sure you go to a good doctor. If your doctor makes you uncomfortable, maybe just consider going to a different one. If you can't, just, calm down. Don't watch too many of other people's experiences, because everybody's is different. But I've known a couple women who've had just fine C-section experiences, more than one, had 4 kids and had 4 C-sections for all of them. I will keep you updated on my healing and when I can work out, when I can, how the healing is going. So, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave in the comments. I'm sorry if I rambled a bit too much. And yes, I do have purple hair right now. This is a semi-permanent dye. I'll be posting some more videos soon. I'll be posting my baby's 3D ultrasound, so you can compare what a 3D ultrasound looks like versus the baby in real life. And that'll be pretty cool if you decide you want to do a 3D ultrasound. Also be doing some informational stuff on how to make a how to make something for cloth diapers. I'm not going to give that away. But if you have any questions, like I said, please leave in the comments, and I hope to hear from you, and thank you for watching. Alright, you guys have a good night or day.